I feel like I'm in a movie. Except the bad part is, when you buy a movie and a DVD, it has at the end, it's got the cuts, the things that didn't make it quite in the movie, and I know that's where I'm going to end up in this movie. I think, Bill, you only made one mistake today, and that was to bring in a keynote. Bruce, if I had done 3 years of kindergarten instead of only 2, perhaps I would have learned how to give a speech without doing notes. I guess if it's any consolation, I can't read it anyway. I can't read my handwriting. I certainly can't read Bill's. But and I too would long for a day where I had a job where my outfit was picked for me. In high school, I won 1 award. Do you guys in Kentucky, do you have Clash Day? You know what Clash Day is? It's where you're supposed to wear the worst outfit you can come up with. And it was no surprise to anybody that I won Clash Day. It was no surprise to anyone but me, because I thought it was the next day. So the other thing that happened to me was that in my college experience, it doesn't matter what I end up doing in my life, I will be known as the guy who had a semi-annual ritual known as laundry. And so I didn't go to Davidson where they do your laundry for free. And so I decided it was that time. Actually, I think my roommates thought it was that time for me to do my clothes. And so I went down and did it. I was going to do it all at once. Turned out all the machines were taken. So I had to go back up to the 5th floor. They always put me at the top floor of the dorms. I'm still trying to figure out why. But anyway, I couldn't find my keys. I was in one of those pair of pants, and so I just left it outside the door. I came back, and it was gone. And I thought, So I asked around, and somebody said, well, I don't know, but there's a girl that likes you that lives in dorm C. Maybe she did it for you. So I went over there to ask her if she in fact done my laundry, and that was the end of the relationship, even before. Anyway, it turned out that the garbage man had come by and thought it was trash and threw it all away, and something my mother had been trying to do piece by piece. But so I'm a preacher's kid, and so I decided I could do one of 2 things. Either I could buy socks and underwear. I had a job. I was an intramural ref. I refed intramural basketball up at the Harvard Law School, calling a technical on John Roberts. And I sure hope I never have to see him in his court, because I think he still remembers. But so I could either do that or I could have a party. And we decided, since I'm a preacher's kid, we chose B. And a friend of mine drew a picture of me, and it had a picture of me in a rain barrel with suspenders and nothing else on it. It said, if you can dress them up, but ... It said, if you ever complained about the way Wayne dressed, here's your chance to do something about it. So we had a party. Everybody brought clothes. 300 pieces of clothing later, I'm still looking good. So when I get a phone call from a college president sometime in March where it's unsolicited, I hide because I know they're going to ask me to come and speak. Not this case, but usually what happens is it's somebody, Colin Powell or Jennifer Ashton or somebody has bagged out for commencement, and they need somebody, and then the school newspaper gets a hold of it, and our 16th choice, Wayne Meisel, is going to be our commencement speaker. It's kind of like a bad start, just like today. Do you have anything that kind of, it happens to you and then it happens again and again and again? I spoke at my college graduation, which sounds like impressive, except the fact that I had to follow Mother Teresa. Wow. So, deja vu times 4. I'm like... So I didn't call Bill back for a while. And I think the reason I didn't call back was, A, I was trying to figure out how to say the no. And I talked to my wife about it and practiced on her, and she seemed, yeah, it's great, stay home. We've got things to do. But finally got a hold of him, and I said I had to come. And it's not just that it's hard to say no to Bill, because it is. It's not just because I always enjoy my time here with the First Lady, which I do. But it was this compelling sense that if I was going to be faithful to my call and my job, that I needed to be here today. And I had no idea how badly, not just you may have needed a speaker, but how badly I needed to be here today as well. Bill and I were practicing our speeches. We bumped into each other in the restroom, and he actually stole some of my notes. But to repeat, I work at the Bonner Foundation. We support students to be involved in community service and social justice. If you think about the notion of an athletic scholarship or an academic scholarship, what we've tried to do is to pioneer the notion of a service-based scholarships where students make that same type of commitment to be active and engaged and a telling presence in their community. We work with some 80 different colleges across the country, everywhere from California, Berkeley, to Amherst College, to Center, to University of Louisville. Together, we do over 1 million hours of service, and we work to try and create and sustain a culture of service at each one of those places. And Lindsey Wilson College is one of those places we have the honor to be a part of, to be a partner with. And 3 years ago, we started out with 8 students, and then 16, and then 24, and then down to 22, and now we're looking for a class of as many as 40 students. I remember coming to this campus. And I go to a lot of places, and I speak to a lot of people that see the dollar sign right there, but nothing else. I miss this pretty face. No, they, and the clothing. but I remember when I came here, it was just, there was no argument, there was no sell. It was just a conversation and a delight of what it would mean for Lindsey Wilson and the Bonner community to be working together. I can't be in front of you without telling you a little story about how we got here, because it's all connected. I work for a man named Mr. Bonner. Mr. and Mrs. Bonner were members of the church where my dad was the minister. And when I was about 28 years old, he called me up and asked me if I would come visit him, and then he had an idea. That what he wanted to do was take the $200 million that he had saved and to do something to do the Lord's work. And my first thought was, why is he calling me? My second thought was, why'd you make so much money in the first place? And third of all, it's like, well, why'd you wait so long? So anyway, I worked for Mr. Bonner for 4 years. A man who grew up poor in Brooklyn. I said that the other day, and somebody says, well, everybody born in Brooklyn is poor. Mr. Bonner did not die poor, but built over 30,000 homes over the course of his lifetime, and met and married one, Mrs. Karela Bonner, born in Egan, Tennessee, on the Kentucky-Tennessee border, 12 miles east of Jellicoe on Route 90. Mrs. Bonner was born a little bit after the turn of the century. She talks about her happy years living on the farm in Lilly, Kentucky, and about the challenging and painful years of living in Wallens Creek and Harlan. At age 16, Mrs. Bonner fled that town in the night to escape the poverty and the violence and the racism and the abuse and the fear that goes along in living with that poverty. She and her mother left her 2 siblings behind because they didn't get them out, and took the train and were part of that famous northern migration from Kentucky up to the northern cities of Detroit and up in Michigan. Our entire work, my entire walk with the Bonners and with God since that time is the return of Mrs. Bonner, is the return of that commitment to this region, to this such an important defining part of American character and a pillar of how we identify ourselves as Americans and our strength. But an area which is oftentimes overlooked or stereotyped or misunderstood by a society in every direction from us here. So we began the Bonner Scholar Program. We went just up the road. We were at Berea College. I learned quickly that you cannot buy a drink at the Boone Tavern Inn, much to Mrs. Bonner's disappointment. But there we met with John Stevenson, the president of Berea College. And we talked about the idea of creating the service-based scholarship, first at Berea College and then at other schools around the country. So we launched that program about 18 years ago. And as I traveled along the region and followed John Stevenson, we missed something. We never made it over to Columbia, Kentucky.